growers, depending on where they are around the different areas of the marsh, they need to have a water source, for their plants, so they control the amounts and when they want to irrigate. They can do that. So, and different farmers have different solutions for that. Folks that are the operations that are close to the Holland River or close to the canals are able to pull from the canals. Other farms that don't have the opportunity, they'll have an opportunity like this, where they've created an irrigation pond where they can pull that water from on demand. I mean, this pond looks like water, but there's always other stuff in the water, right? And that's the challenge where it is. And you really have to look at where is the source, what is it close to, and those kind of details in order to, and preferably test, to understand what's exactly in the water. Here, probably not as concerned about bacterial loading or the dangerous ones like E. coli, but certainly areas like the Holland River or the canals at the marsh area, because we are close to built-up areas and residential areas. There's more stuff in the water, right? Salt can be higher. There could be E. coli content in the water, and those kind of things that we need to be concerned with, specifically if we're growing, kind of ready-to-eat vegetables. Behind us is a pretty typical irrigation system that has a large pump that's drawing, 800 or 1,000 or 1,100, gallons per hour onto the field. The water is dispensed along the full length of the system, and the system will slowly track itself in an arc. We took lots of samples from different locations, both in the Holland and Keswick Marsh, on irrigation source water to understand what the bacteria levels were. We measured both total bacteria, which is all the different kinds of bacteria, good or bad, and also specific testing on the E. coli bacteria. And what we found was there was always some level of E. coli bacteria in the irrigation source water. Sometimes it is very low, sometimes it's very high. You can't tell the difference between very low E. coli concentration water and very high E. coli concentration water. And so it's important then to, as a next step, to think about, well, how do I manage that risk of that E. coli? Treatment systems do exist for managing bacteria. We did evaluate 2 different treatment systems over the summer. One of them was copper-silver ionization, and the second one was a combination of ozone and ultraviolet light to sterilize the water and take the bacteria out of the water. On the case of the copper-silver ionization, those are actually the highest pre-treatment E. coli concentrations that we captured throughout the summer. They were over 6,000 units per 100 milliliters of water. That's how they measure E. coli in lab speak, I suppose. Kind of standard that we're trying to achieve is less than 100 units per 100 milliliters of water. So we were well above kind of the standard we're trying to achieve. The copper-silver ionization unit was able to knock those down to certainly less than, well below the 100 unit per 100 milliliter limit. The second system that we evaluated was a combination ozone and ultraviolet light method to attack the bacteria in the water. In that particular case, the untreated irrigation water samples were actually at the lowest levels that we actually measured, at less than 1 unit per 100 milliliters of water. And that again kind of speaks to the level of variability that you can see in the marsh based on where you're getting your samples from and what the weather has been and all those kind of factors. So in that kind of case, it wasn't really surprising that the ozone and ultraviolet system was able to eradicate the E. coli in those particular samples down to 0. But we also looked at the total bacteria levels, which were higher. They were at 10,000 units per 100 milliliters in those particular samples, and there they were knocked down to less than 19. So it does also show that I think that system is effective tackling bacteria levels in the irrigation water. So both of those technologies are available. Both of them are pretty easy to integrate into your existing irrigation systems. And as a producer, it's something to think about, in terms of how are you managing the risk of the quality and safety of your crop going out the door.